You knew we'd be back here. It's like the song goes, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels. This is Street Fighter Zero. I wanted to knock out another Versus series game while we've got animation work going on in the background. Something a little less time consuming, and a quick run at Zero felt like the perfect fit. We recently covered half the cast in a Chun-Li run for Alpha 2, and this is a good chance to cover the characters that weren't featured, as well as getting a better look at where the Zero series started. This time we are going to be rolling with Mistress Rose, because this game only has 3 ladies to choose from if you count Saddam, which I do, because he's a giant pussy. Starting off strong, it's the Queen of Fat Thighs herself, and thankfully this is stage 1 difficulty, because I am not a Rose player. She is surprisingly offensive, despite her specials being more counter-based, which is kinda great cause this game is even more busted than Zero 2, and having her slides and long-range kicks was a lifesaver, with her moves only working half the time for me. Maybe Sega Saturn games aren't meant to be played on a PC using a PlayStation 3 controller from Wish.com. Whatever, I'm still blaming the game, and you'll see why soon enough. She's got that slide I mentioned, and also a projectile that works half the time, along with a reflect ability that usually sends projectiles back, but doesn't work against the bosses, for some reason. And she has an anti-air, which I usually love, but when the inputs are wonky, it ends up doing way more harm than good. Except in this case, cause that girl is fucking dead. Let's ignore that. Hey, I know that guy. It's Final Fight, and he's left Wolf Street to bring some rage to the streets of this rival turf. If this were Zero 2, I'd be taking him much more seriously, but in this test build of a game, he practically lets you get hits in. His moves are all there, but this game is terribly balanced, probably the worst I've seen in Capcom up to this point, and it feels like the same scam they pulled with the original arcade release of Street Fighter 3. Those who are in the know, so I won't waste your time with a history lesson for another game. But the time in between Zero 1 and 2 hitting arcades was well under a year. This is not a full release. This is a beta, sold to arcade owners as a finished product. And you can tell by my gameplay, I am legitimately fucking about, wasting time and leaving myself open while trying to learn the character. Don't you worry, believe it or not, it's gonna get worse. Time for Ryu to pop in and fuck everything up, cause this is legit the hardest fight in the game. It's almost as if Ryu is the most played character, so they had to finish his programming before shipping this out the door, or people might notice the game's busted. Guess what? I still fucking noticed. Have you ever felt like a game does not want you to win? This game does not want you to win. Similar to Guile insta-flash kicking you in classic Street Fighter 2, Ryu is gonna read every input to make your life a living hell. If the game's gonna cheat, then just cheat back, and kick that dumb bastard in the shins till he can't walk. Now, obviously I'm playing up the anger. If I really hated this game, we wouldn't be playing it. However, what they did to my boy Birdie is unforgivable. Usually one of my favorite characters to play as, he is practically unusable in this version. I was so taken aback by his non-aggression compared to the previous fight, that I just started randomly pressing buttons, just to see if I could get a reaction. This guy should be tossing Rose around like a rag doll, but instead of choking me for being a good girl, he's the one begging to be hit. Even better, the next fight is with Saddam, a character so hated they didn't even invite him along in the movie. He had to crash it. He's so terrible, we're not even going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Rose's backstory instead. Gonna keep it short since they changed everything in Street Fighter V. But in Alpha, she's a fortune teller who's drawn to Bison due to some dark premonitions she's been having. She discovers she's born from the good half of his soul in sort of a reverse King Piccolo situation. She's also a knockoff of Lisa Lisa, cause Street Fighter really likes stealing from that series. Anyway, back to fighting this loser. How funny would it be if I talked all this shit and Saddam just turned around and beat my ass? It's Adon, and again, I think this game might be broken. He surprised me early with that overhead, but I think they may have forgotten to give him a block button. I am clearly terrible with this character, but the moment I start cheesing in the corner, easy win. It's kinda sad, cause this should be a dream matchup. Adon can counter projectiles with his overhead, and Rose can catch overheads. But none of that is happening, cause I just can't time it right. The fact Adon actually plays competently puts him well at the top of the tier list when it comes to the new cast members. Even if I'm still not taking it 100% seriously, this is probably the closest to a 0-2 fight. It's time to face off against the Tiger King himself, Sagat, who is essentially a mini-boss. However, he doesn't seem to have his own stage. It's almost like they didn't finish this game. Your reflect isn't going to do much here, but at this point we are just button mashing in the corner, cause something tells me it'll work. Stay in close. They clearly programmed him to do his classic upper and lower tiger projectiles in order to push you back, but fighting from the inside, the only thing you'll really need to watch out for is that uppercut. Again, we have been on easy mode since Ryu, so my only real advice is to play it aggressive, in order to keep the AI from using any of the limited tactics it has. Hey, it's this fuckhead again. Nothing new to say about the Bison Man, although he's at least slightly more aggressive here than he was in 2. For a final boss, he's very unimpressive, and almost comes off as desperate, in the way that he will begin spamming his Psycho Crusher whenever his health drops. The funny thing is, this too is unbalanced, making it a very pathetic finishing move compared to what he can do in 3. In a well-balanced game, I would not be able to get away with playing aggressively like this, with zero mastery of the combos or special attacks. But this just is not forcing me to learn like other titles we've played. A theme of these videos is picking characters I do not play as, to force me to learn them, but there's zero reason to do that here because the game is just not finished. Using her Soul Glow power, Rose defeats Bison, attempting to end his life, but as she passes out, she hears his heart beat once more. And that's really it, which is okay because they rewrote all of this anyway. That was Street Fighter Zero, and now it makes a whole lot more sense why they called it Alpha in America. I came into the series when Zero 2 was already out, and had only really played short casual matches in 1 just to see what it was about, but actually sitting down with it was a whole other thing. And I only discovered earlier today that it was released within a month of Street Fighter the movie, The Game, which was a huge failure, so it's pretty obvious this got rushed out well before it was ready, in a desperate attempt to make that money back. If you are going to come back to the Alpha series, 2 and 3 are much better choices for separate reasons, but the easiest way to get these games in current day are the collections, so you'll most likely end up with every version anyway when trying to play just one of them. Again, special thank you to everyone who got adopts this week, and we will pick a new theme tomorrow. What that will be, we will have to find out together, and I will catch you in the next one.